SZV, our health insurance providers, has made some major changes in their services. Minister of Justice has apologized to the justice workers. But first up, Minister of Public Health gives update on the latest case of COVID-19 on the island. Those are the headlines for Wednesday, July the 22nd, 2020. And this is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, Minister of Public Health, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, gave an update on several issues, as well as the issue of a COVID-19 case that was discovered recently from a passenger that came in on the repatriation flight last Saturday, July the 18th, from Fort Lauderdale. The minister was speaking at the time at today's Council of Ministers virtual weekly press briefing.
The repatriation flight from Fort Lauderdale on Saturday, 18 July 2020 was a success with only one person testing positive for COVID. The person who tested positive for COVID did not have symptoms when they arrived at the airport and was wearing a mask in flight and on the airport. Therefore, the risk of exposure to COVID-19 by other persons on the flight or at the airport was deemed minimal. I continue to urge everyone to play their part and comply to the preventive advice, maintaining 2 meters social distance, wash your hands frequently with soap and water, sanitize your hands often, and wear mask face shields. There, I would like to say something. I'm very pleased to see that there are a lot of people having these modern types of face masks. I just want to remind them to wash them daily with disinfectant so that they can be used the next day again and continue taking care of themselves. If experiencing flu-like symptoms, please call your family physician or call 914 hotline if you have any questions. I would like to express a heartfelt thank you to all the stakeholders, nurses, physicians, lab technicians who assisted to make this possible. An application will be available for incoming passengers traveling or returning to St. Maarten who have a valid PCR test taken the last 72 hours to upload prior to boarding the flight. Persons who have no valid PCR test within the required 72 hours will be PCR tested at the airport upon arrival. Dr. Perk will be the physician spearheading the operation at the airport, on behalf of the Department of Public Health. His role will be to monitor and confirm the validity of COVID test results presented, to oversee testing for those without valid test results and persons whose results exceed the 72 hours mark. I would like to provide you with an update on the latest statistics on COVID-19. As of July 22nd, 2020, 81 persons had a laboratory confirmed COVID-19 infection. To date, there has been 63 persons that have recovered from the COVID-19 and 15 persons have passed away. There are currently 3 cases that are actively being monitored by the CPS. Since my last address, there will have been 2 additional cases reported to CPS. These 2 persons contacted CPS this week due to flu-like symptoms and were subsequently tested. Both persons are presently isolated at their own residence.
Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, has addressed the justice workers. The minister says that she has taken note of the letter that was sent to the governor and to the President of Parliament and a few others regarding her person in regards to the events that occurred with her and the justice workers. She took the opportunity to apologize to the justice workers and has promised to continue to work on the function books.
I have taken note of the letter that was sent to the Chairman of Parliament, the Council of Ministers, the Governor, and a few other copied essential departments and persons. by justice workers addressed to the President of Parliament concerning the events that occurred with my person and that of the unions and members in the forefront of this government building last Thursday. Through this medium, I would like to express to the personnel of the Ministry of Justice and their union representatives that were offended by some statements I made on Thursday on the steps of the government building. In the moment, and in an attempt to bring across some key points, I made some statements of which I sincerely apologize. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the work done on the function books to date. Sitting in this seat and taking the time to find out the status of the individual function books, I acknowledge the work and efforts done by my predecessors. I am working towards ensuring it is finalized while I am fulfilling the seat of Minister of Justice. Aside from the matter of the function books, I would like to acknowledge the hard work of my immediate predecessor, the current Minister of Romy, the Honorable Egbert Jurendi Duran, in securing the back pay for the police officers while he held this office. As I previously expressed, it is my approach in this capacity to handle all matters within the framework of law and policy. The establishment of the function books is a lengthy, complex process that deserves the appropriate attention and cannot be rushed. The necessary steps must be taken within the departments, the CCU representing the unions and their members, legal affairs, the Council of Ministers, and in some cases, the Council of Advice, as well as the governor. In all departments, work has been done, and we are looking forward to updating the personnel of each department on the exact status of the function book and communicate the timelines for completion. Once the function books are formalized in legislation and the placement process can take place, where the necessary steps must be taken to ensure that this is done properly. With respects to the various grievances communicated by the personnel of the ministry through the unions, we are taking steps to sit with respective departments to further discuss and get to the core of these issues and agree on a suitable timeline to address them. All personnel of the Ministry of Justice and the unions will be duly informed on the progress as it relates to their specific grievances. We are working on a suitable means of communication to ensure all are included and updated appropriately.
And in news out of the island of Saba, the public entity of Saba announced during discussions with the outbreak management team that it is aiming to open the island for visitors from Canada and Europe from October the 1st. Visitors from the United States will be welcome from November the 1st, Island Governor Jonathan Johnson announced Tuesday in a so-called hospitality update. These are tentative dates, which may be altered according to how the epidemiological situation develops in both regions during the ongoing months. Because of this, Mr. Johnson says, we will provide the hospitality sector with an update on the 15th of each month, informing you if these dates remain the same or if there have been any changes. Europe, Aruba, and Canada are currently categorized as medium risk. Despite diminishing local transmissions, COVID-19 and the risk of infection and the introduction by travelers from these areas are still there, but the risk can be mitigated with additional travel measures such as quarantine on arrival and hygiene measures. This means that travel exceptions for travel to Saba are only possible for repatriation, essential workers, medical students, and Saba students who live abroad with additional quarantine requirements. Leisure travel to Saba is currently prohibited for travelers from Europe, Canada, and Aruba. The United States and countries in Central and South America are categorized as high risk, as there are many transmissions of COVID-19 and the risk of infection and introduction of the virus by travelers from these areas is considered high for these countries as well. Exceptions for travel to Saba can only be made for repatriation, essential workers, medical students, and SABRE students who live abroad with pre-arrival testing and additional quarantine requirements. The release reads in part. And in a separate statement, Johnson said that essential travel and travel for work between SABRE and St. Martin are still possible. But with additional quarantine requirements on arrival in SABRE, transits on St. Martin Princess Juliana International Airport are still possible without quarantine. The quarantine requirements for essential travel to and from St. Martin were relaxed on July the 9th. Since then, there have been instances of persons not adhering to the safety measures, and now with St. Martin having positive cases, which alludes to the low-level circulation of COVID-19, the quarantine requirements are reinstated, Johnson stated. St. Eustatius, Bonaire, and Curaçao are categorized as low risk. Therefore, travel is completely open between SABRE, Statia, and Bonaire without the requirements to quarantine on arrival in SABRE. This also includes leisure travel. All persons wishing to leave or enter SABRE must send an email to info@sabregov.nl to ask for approval from the island governor. Requests are dealt with case by case and should be sent 72 hours in advance on weekdays between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. And still to come, SZV, our health insurance providers, has made some major changes in their services. We'll have a detail to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now with more news, the personnel of the detective department arrested the man with the initials EY in the early morning of the 21st of July 2020. The suspect was being sought in connection with committing of various criminal offenses. He was brought to the police station in Phillipsburg, where he was questioned. After being interrogated, the suspect was incarcerated pending further investigation. The investigation is still in its early stages, so no further information can be divulged at this time. And in more news from the police blotter, several patrols were directed to the Darlison Drive early Tuesday morning, July the 21st, where a man was threatening his neighbors with bodily harm. At the scene, the patrol was approached by two men who wanted to file an official complaint against the man with the initials RR, who threatened to harm them both. The police officers decided to approach the man, who was still at the scene, and asked him exactly what was going on. RR started to insult and threaten the officers for no apparent reason. He was asked several times to control his anger and explain what had happened, which he refused. At a certain point, the police decided to arrest RR as the situation has started to get out of hand. While trying to arrest RR, he began to vehemently resist the arrest and began struggling with the officers. He was later brought under control, placed in the police vehicle, and then taken to the police station in Phillipsburg, where he is being detained pending further investigation. SZV, our health insurance providers, has made some major changes in their services. Mrs. Parveen Butcher, SZV's communications officer, spoke to our news department about the new SZV and their online services.
But perhaps it's a good idea to look back at the past few months, because SZV was in a real challenging situation, like many others, like many individuals, like many companies. Also, SZV was faced with a sudden decision to close our doors because it was not safe anymore to accommodate a large group of people in our building. And as you know, our clients are recipients of the AOV, so seniors, sometimes with a fragile health situation, or we have clients that need us for their medical services, also in a not so healthy situation. Right. So very quickly we made the decision to stop accommodating a large groups of people in our buildings. And that was actually expedited by the government's decision to go into a complete lockdown. SZV actually never closed, fully closed. SZV and our colleagues, I have to applaud them for that, were always open, in the sense of the phone lines were redirected to the mobile phones, the emails were addressed from home, and processing of all kind of information took place from home. So it was a very swift change that we went through, and I have to shout out to our staff at this point to cheer to them for making all this possible, because we did all these developments in a very short time with health and safety of our public, of our clients, and also of our staff at heart. So it was really, really important. It was a really big achievement. I would say one of the biggest achievements that SZV had in history. So yeah, it was a big change where all kind of processes that we were so used to changed overnight. And later on we'll talk a little bit more in detail about the different processes and what does it mean for your card renewal, what does it mean for your AO control. But to start off is to say that yeah, we are proud of what we have achieved. We know that we cannot cater every single person to their expectations, but it is our aim to come as close to that as possible. And decisions are made with health and safety in mind. So yeah, I think that's good. That is really something that I wanted to share with our listeners and viewers.
And it is with interest and some amusement, the United Democrats UD is taking note of the steady encroachment by the President of Parliament, the POP, Rolando Bryson, in the domains of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transportation and Telecommunications, TEAT. In the President of Parliament's most recent political act, he traveled to the Netherlands to accompany the Prime Minister. What was achieved by this move, asked the UD? Is the Prime Minister not capable to represent this coalition government? Whatever happened to dualism and the separation of power? Additionally, in a recent social media comment and video, the President of Parliament tried to spin the concerns of many regarding the reopening of the Princess Juliana International Airport. Many persons have expressed their opinions on flights originating from the United States of America, and rightfully so. Even though repatriation flights are only now being arranged, it is done amidst confusion about the required testing for our citizens. Bringing our people home should have been priority number one from the onset of this pandemic. A mutual agreement should have been sought when the United States repatriated the citizens that ours would have been included on those inbound flights. The United Democrats further questioned what can we expect as a country for the resumption of flights and their frequencies. Is anyone talking to decision makers or network planning officials at the airlines? Shouldn't communication on this matter originate from the Ministry of TEAT? In the past, the current President of Parliament was seemingly relentless about convening endless meetings of the TEAT committee, insisting on the presence of the then Minister of TEAT. Now, with scheduling ability and coalition support, where are the meetings and why are the meetings being postponed? Where are the pending meetings since they were so desperately needed? Was it a publicity stunt or just cheap politics, the UD queried. Closed-door meetings by the President of Parliament are now the order of the day. Public transportation, kingdom relations, etc. Where is the total transparency for the public? The release reads in part. Now, turning to our weather forecast for today, July the 22nd, 2020. Tropical storm Gonzalo forms, expected to become a hurricane by Thursday. Forecast track keeps center of Gonzalo well south of St. Martin. At 11 a.m., Gonzalo was moving toward the west near 14 miles per hour and had maximum sustained winds near 50 miles per hour with higher gusts. Strengthening is forecast during the next couple of days, and Gonzalo is expected to become a hurricane by Thursday. This system currently poses no direct threat to St. Martin. The Meteorological Department of St. Martin will continue to monitor the progress of the system and keep the public updated accordingly. So the outlook through Friday midday, partly cloudy to cloudy with isolated showers. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Member of Parliament for UD queries the Minister of Public Health about the fund and the longevity of the fund. We'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now with more news for you at this time, Member of Parliament for the UD, Sarah Westcott-Williams, posing questions to the Honourable Minister of Public Health, Richard Panafleck, at the last urgent plenary session of Parliament's meeting on July the 15th before they took their summer break. The Member of Parliament is asking the Minister of Public Health about the fund and the longevity of the fund. Is it safeguarded by this proposal by the government to increase the pensionable age from 62 to 65?
As the government continued to elucidate the need for this law, clearly it has to do with the fund. And I wouldn't say the survivability at this time, but definitely the longevity of the fund is safeguarded by this proposal by government to increase the pension age. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Minister. Minister, currently the legal reserve that the fund needs to be maintained is very low, the legal reserve. Can the Minister indicate on what basis that legal reserve was established? I know we are way over the legal reserve, but on what basis has the legal minimum reserve been established? If the Minister can elaborate on that. Minister, with the proposal before us, the government has informed Parliament that as of 2024, the surplus which has been built would start to decrease. With this particular change, that decrease will be deferred until 2028. Can the Minister give us a projection, since we are now at 2028 when the reserve, not a reserve, the surpluses would start to decrease? Can the Minister provide a picture as of 2028, how that decrease will look. So going forward a couple of years, where would we stand with the reserves and the surpluses, which according to the government will start to decrease? Without this draft, it would have been 2024. With this draft, it's 2028.
And then the Minister of Public Health, Labor and Social Affairs, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, then read and answered the Member of Parliament's questions.
I'll go right to the questions posed by Member of Parliament, Mrs. Westcott. Can the Minister reference to the conditions set by the Dutch government of 2015, the aanwijzing, now coming back to the conditions for liquidity support? Are there any other conditions going back to 2015 that the minister still has to comply with? Answer. One was bringing AOV to 65. The other one was to take measures to make the health insurance system financially sustainable. Question. Longevity of the fund is safeguarded by this law change? The legal reserve for the fund is very low. Can the minister tell what is the basis for the legal minimum reserve? The relevant Landsbesluit stipulates that the reserve has to be between 50 and 70% of the average cost paid out of the fund on average over the last 5 years. Question. As of 2024, the surplus will decrease. Now this will be 2028. Can the minister provide information about the years thereafter? With the measures now proposed, the annual income and expenses will break even in 2028, and at the moment that the reserve will be at their maximum of 558 million. After that year, the reserve will decrease every year and reach zero in the year 2038. Question. General pension study FENOX in 2015. Can that study be shared with Parliament? The report will be supplied to Parliament together with other answers in writing. Going to the general pension was not feasible at that time. Where does government stand now in such a system to complement AOV? As mentioned, to answer that question properly, further research into the socioeconomic position of the elderly is needed. The elderly care survey will be carried out about the health care of the elderly. Government will be seeking answers. Can I receive more specific information about this survey? 1, when that will start? 2, by whom? 3, a timeline, and will money be deterrent? There is no clear guideline as yet. The plan of action is developed right now.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, the Department of Interior and Kingdom Relations, BOC, through the established policy platform, organized a policy writing workshop for all policy workers. Since its inception, the platform has been used as a mechanism to set and raise standards within government, mobilize change, and stimulate active and positive participation between and amongst policy workers in general. By doing this, the platform enhances skills and strengthens the core of the civil service. The workshop spanned 2 intensive days of policy writing. The workshop is the beginning of the development of standards for policy writing, as well as a guideline for policy development. As such, the policy platform will continue to strive for a more integrated, holistic approach to policy development. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. Thanking you so much for joining me. I'm Valerie Van Putten, and just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.